the economic engine we create.
Yep.
And in order to do that, we need people who are skilled in the field. And so our activities have included working with various middle schools, high schools, community colleges to install programs that will encourage students to pursue careers in science and engineering and therefore be the manpower for the future. Those programs are based on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And recently it's incorporated the arts in that, and it's called STEAM, which I find to be a rather amusing term, but very important because people in the arts, especially graphics, are very much aligned with many of the things that are done by biomedical engineers.
Well, you know, as you were talking about that, the first thing that came to my mind was STEM and STEAM, because it's a very catchy little acronym or whatever. And I'm glad to hear that you are working with young people and trying to get that workforce up and developed so that, you know, we're going to be really well positioned to staff a lot of the jobs that are coming up, because this is really going to be a real burgeoning area of employment and job development and everything. And now, you're getting a lot of good responses from the schools in terms of some of the programs that you're doing?
Yes, we are, and I'd like to expand on that in just a minute, but I'd like to mention something that I think is very important for the listening audience to recognize. One is there are 140,000 manufacturing jobs in the state of Connecticut. The average age of the people involved in those companies is 55. So in 10 years, 70,000 people will be leaving the manufacturing domain, which means that we need to prepare for that event. Now, as Nantucket Community Colleges produces 100 a year, and in 10 years that will be 1,000. The governor has mandated that 3 of the other community colleges mimic what's been done at Nantucket, and that will provide another 3,000 at the end of 10 years. So with 4,000 in hand, the real question, and it's a dire question, is where are the other 64,000 going to come from?
Exactly.
And that's the reason why it's important to reach out to these young people and characterize manufacturing as not the grease pit that they may be envisioning that used to exist, but a clean computer-operated facility that requires people to have a good background in mathematics in order to operate the machinery.
And that's highly paid as well.
Very well. As a matter of fact, in 5 to 7 years after starting in a medical device manufacturing firm, individuals are up to 6 figures and are being recruited by many companies who need them in their own shops.
You know, I find that very interesting because, you know, we're looking at different ways that we're having companies try to come into Connecticut to make a couple of hundred jobs or a few hundred jobs or maybe 1,000 jobs. And here we're talking 64 to 66,000 jobs that are going to go wanting within the next few years. So we really, really have to gear up for what's coming up.
Right, and if we don't, the consequences are dire because our economy, especially in the manufacturing domain, which essentially supports the aerospace industry and the medical device industry, would be hard-pressed to meet the needs of those particular industries without the manufacturing workforce that's required.
The other thing that you mentioned that I think is worth, you know, kind of focusing on is the fact that Connecticut and the New England states have always traditionally been worldwide known for their manufacturing and of precision equipment and for the high caliber of employees that we've had in manufacturing for many, many, many years. And this is just sort of a branch of that we want to stay, you know, highly competitive worldwide, and this is a way of doing it.
Right, and Beacon has also recognized that the skill set that is needed in manufacturing for the aerospace industry is exactly the same as needed for the medical device industry. So one of the things that we're engaged in is we would like to help aerospace manufacturers diversify into the medical device field so that if the economic downturns in aerospace, they still have an economic platform in medical devices and vice versa. So it provides for the manufacturers in the state a stable economic platform, which would be extremely important to count on those manufacturing jobs being maintained within the state.
Well, you know, my next question was about joint ventures, and actually you've sort of hit on one joint venture, which would be kind of getting together with aerospace and kind of hand in hand walking down that road. But are there any state programs or federal programs that can have joint ventures with Beacon or with this biomedical engineering community?
Well, certainly the governor has instituted a significant investment in the biomedical engineering biotech community, and especially with the introduction of Jackson Laboratories within the state and in conjunction with the University of Connecticut Health Center. It's important to note, however, that biological activities as proposed by the Jackson Labs require devices in order to monitor their success. Enzyme detectors, bioinformatics, and all kinds of engineering disciplines are going to be required in order to successfully achieve the goals of those Jackson Laboratories. So, to a large extent, one of the things we feel very strongly about is to utilize the burgeoning development of professional biomedical engineers at UConn, which has a very large biomedical engineering program, about 300 students in biomedical engineering alone, to work as arms and legs for the clinical researchers in the Jackson Labs, as well as the local hospitals that are here in Greater Hartford. You keep answering questions before I ask them, because I was thinking about, is there enough money to allow bio companies to thrive and grow here? And you were saying that, because of the state government being forward thinking in terms of bioengineering and biotech, that has been one aspect of it. But does the federal government, or are there private entities that have bucks available for some of these companies to grow? On a positive note, there is in the state a very active SBIR program.
SBIR that's a federal program.
It's a small business.
Small business, right.
And what it helps is entrepreneurs go to the next step of commercialization. And the group directed by Deb Santee has been very influential in helping companies take that first step with initial funds to get to the prototype stage. They have been fortunate in furthering some of the applications that pertain to medical devices for our assistance, and so therefore we've been able to help some of those entrepreneurs go to the next step. The caveat about funding is the difficulty of angel funding and venture capital funding, because the investment community right now is risk adverse. So it is very difficult to get funding for the startups. And so that continues to remain a dilemma, because it's from the startups that the companies of tomorrow are formed. So we need to increase the amount of money available to fund the activities of startups than we presently have on the books.
There's no group in Connecticut of angel investors that you go to or anything regarding that at this point?
Well, there are a couple of state agencies. Connecticut Innovations is one, which has a number of programs that can be of assistance to entrepreneurs and people who are in the beginning stages of company formation. There are some angel forums that will allow companies to do what I call speed dating, which is to demonstrate their product in front of investors. But to a large extent, the success rate of those is not as much as we would desire.
Well, now just one question regarding Connecticut in relation to the rest of the New England states. Are we in a better position, do you think, than some of the other states, or equal to, let's say, Massachusetts or whatever it is regarding this field?
Well, to a large extent, I'll attack that question in several different ways. Connecticut is in a very fortunate position because it is the only state university in New England that has an educational program in biomedical engineering. That means that residents of the other New England states can be admitted to UConn and pay in-state tuition, which means that UConn's biomedical engineering program gets the creme de la creme of the students from New England. So they are in a position to provide biomedical engineers for all of New England and beyond. The real question is how to provide those students that are coming out of the program with senior design projects and clinical research projects that will facilitate the development of the economic engine I was talking about before. And to a large extent, that's one of the things that Beacon started 2-3 years ago. We call it the Beacon Link process, where we seek out projects from clinical researchers in the community, and we form teams from the 3 colleges and universities that have biomedical engineering to work on those projects. And the first year we ran it, we had 6 projects, and we had 18 students working on them. The second year we had 12 projects and 36 students working on them. So it has been very successful and needs to be expanded.
Well, Joe, you know, I think one takeaway from this program is that you were talking about 4,000 people, the 3,000 or 4,000 people that currently are in the biomedical engineering field in Connecticut right now, and another 64 or 66,000 jobs within the near future that have to be filled with Connecticut people, we hope. And you know, when people hear you're a biomedical engineer, and you know, you talk to a man on the street, they probably don't know what that means, and yet it's very, very, very important. So I thank you so much for being with me this evening. As a matter of fact, I hope sometime perhaps you'll come back again and we can chat a little bit more about it, because it is a fascinating subject, and I want to know how we're moving along down the field in terms of economics and in terms of job growth on that. So you think you'd come back sometime maybe?
Absolutely, and to a large extent, it's our hope and goal to truly make MedTech an economic engine for the state, so we can essentially continue to enjoy the quality of life our citizens have experienced.
Thank you. If you want more information, please go to www.beaconalliance.org. Thanks so much. I mentioned earlier we will be having several roundtable discussions in future Eye to Eye shows, and I'd like people who would like to get in touch with me at linda@i.tv.com. linda@i2itv.com. Let me have your information. I'll get back to you, and hopefully you can be a viewer volunteer. If you have any thoughts on topics, let me know at that time as well. But I want them to be topics that are of interest to all of us as residents of the state, as residents of the locality. So until next time, let's all try to see eye to eye. I'm Linda Cavanaugh, wishing you a very good evening.